At this point, studio interference is no secret. Whenever creative minds get together to tell their stories, the corporate higher-ups always have to throw in their 2 cents. You've probably heard examples about how studios have completely ruined a movie's potential with their persistent suggestions, like Spider-Man 3. Sam Raimi's Last Spider-Man is a prime example of studio mucking. Originally, the film was supposed to have Peter be a lot more self-reflective. A theme of forgiveness would be more prominent, as he'd begin to see the criminals he fought as more human. Raimi also wanted Sandman to be the main villain, with Harry Osborn's development as the Goblin also having a larger, more introspective spotlight. But guess what the studio wanted? Raimi was heavily pressured to include fan-favorite Venom, but he admittedly was not really a fan of that villain, finding him to have a lack of humanity that didn't fit with the film's theme. Producer Avi Arad thought that Raimi focused too much on his personal favorite villains rather than what was more marketable. And after some backs and forth, they compromised by not really compromising. Venom was just kind of shoehorned into the movie, which made for an overstuffed mess, with not a lot of time to explore the deeper themes. But when does corporate mucking actually work? We typically hear of the negative examples, but one can assume that studios and networks are interfering all the time. When is it for the better? Well, some people don't know that the Seinfeld leads were originally just a group of dudes. After test screening the pilot, NBC only agreed to pick up the show if they added a female lead. In fact, if you watch the first episode, Elaine is nowhere to be found. The only thing close to her is the character of Claire, played by Lee Garlington. Claire was a waitress at their hangout spot, who, while close with Jerry and George, was somewhat disconnected from the core group. It's weird to imagine that if it weren't for NBC, we'd have Seinfeld without Julia Louis-Dreyfus. But on to movies. Endings tend to be a popular target. Clerks was supposed to end with Dante being shot and killed. Miramax found this a little too depressing. Shocking, right? But that's nothing compared to Back to the Future. Rather than the whole thing with the lightning bolt and the sports car, Marty and Doc were originally supposed to go to an atomic testing site, where Marty would step inside a modified refrigerator and use nuclear explosions to initiate time travel. Yeesh, thank God Universal put their foot down on that. They were allegedly worried that kids would imitate this and get stuck inside fridges, which is definitely good justification to get rid of something that stupid. But for a lot of movies, an ending might only be a small change. Some films have their whole genre flipped. The original script for Good Will Hunting was a legit thriller. It was to be about an ultra-smart young man on the rough streets of Boston, hunted by the government to be used as a tool for them. Studio president Rob Reiner urged them to drop all that and stick to a character-driven story. He wanted it to be more focused on the relationship between Matt Damon and his therapist, and it's pretty safe to say that was the right move. But you think that's bad? Did you know that at one point, Woody was going to be Toy Story's villain? I hardly need to explain the plot of Toy Story, but I think we can see why Woody might be a hard character to get right. His actions throughout the film are kind of despicable. He gets so jealous of a new friend that he attempts to sabotage him. It takes careful writing to portray Woody as a sympathetic character, but this was not done so well at first. In a 1993 storyboard for the film, Woody was far more mean-spirited. Rather than acting as the toy's well-meaning but misguided leader, he was a straight-up bully. The scene where he accidentally knocks Buzz out of a window was originally on purpose. Later, he proudly announces what he did. The other toys are horrified, to which Woody lashes out at them for daring to question their leader. It's made apparent that the other toys are terrified of Woody, and that's where their whole dynamic stems from. He's not respected, he's feared. Eventually, the toys say enough is enough. They stage a coup to overpower their dictator and throw him out the window, as they're tired of his constant abuse. Yeah, you better believe Disney hated the shit out of that. They found this version absolutely joyless, going as far as wanting to fire the employees responsible. It took director John Lasseter begging for a little more time to revise the story, eventually getting just 2 weeks to fix the abomination. They changed a lot of the character's snark and sarcasm into more optimism, and the toys were given a family dynamic as opposed to being underlings. And they essentially made Woody a well-meaning patriarch instead of a Fuhrer. If Disney hadn't reacted so strongly to that initial reel, not only would we have gotten a vastly different film, we might not have gotten anything at all. Even if the movie were still made, without Disney, it could have gone into complete obscurity. Maybe it would have went direct to video, and we'd all discover it 20 years later in the Walmart bargain bin. Imagine the empire known as Pixar never coming to fruition. So, thanks, Disney? Jeez, that feels weird to say. Point is, for every example of corporations ruining art, there are numerous examples of the opposite. With a little research, you might be surprised to find out which of your favorite movies were saved by Suits and Ties. Comment some examples you know of. Thank you to everyone for watching. As always, extra thank you to my top tiers, Stephen Walk and Katie King. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that goddamn stupid fucking bell.